So I recently saw this really cool map animation on A24's Instagram page, and it's for their new movie, Civil War. Today I'm going to be recreating it inside of Adobe After Effects using a premium extension called GEOlayers 3. Now, if you want to get access to my project files, I'll link to those. They're over on my Patreon page. And if you want to be a master of GeoLayers, check out my GeoLayers 3 masterclass, which I will also link to in the video description. Okay, I've got Adobe After Effects open here, and I've already imported a reference image of A24's Instagram post. Oh my goodness, this is going to be fun. I've got the GeoLayers panel open over here, and I've navigated over to the US. And actually, the first thing I want to do is download all of the map feature polygons for the US, so all the individual states. To do that, go to this search bar and just do a keyword search for United States. And then you want to look for this one right here, which is a feature collection. You can see it's a folder icon, and then underneath it says states and provinces. So I'm going to click on this little download arrow so that I'll add that to my browser. So when you add things to your browser, be aware that it's kind of in like a cache state. So if you close After Effects and then reopen it, it won't be there and you'll have to download it again. So it's important that you either export it to your local drive or add it to your favorite features so that basically After Effects will save it, or GeoLayers will save it to your local drive. So as I open these up, you can see I have all of the polygons here. And to keep things not too long here, I'm just not even going to worry about Alaska and Hawaii. So I'm going to click on feature properties here, and I'm going to sort all these features by name. And now I can quickly go in here and just grab Alaska and delete it, grab Hawaii and delete it. Sorry, no offense, but I don't got time for that. Okay, so now we have like the lower 48 here. So what I'm going to do now is separate these into their forces. So you can see we have these four different groups here. We have the Western forces, the Loyalist states, the Florida Alliance, and the New People's Army. I actually haven't seen this movie yet. Maybe I'll try to see it tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 4 map features that I'm going to merge these different states to create a single polygon for each of these. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that by exporting a CSV, and then we're going to go into Google Sheets. We're going to add a column for basically where the state belongs to, whether it belongs to, like, which of these army groups, I'll call them forces, and then I'm going to take that, download it, and then re-import it and add it. So the way that we do this is we click on our feature collection here, and we go back into the feature properties, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you have these buttons right here. You can export the properties to a CSV. So down here, you'll see you have all these properties. I'm essentially just going to be adding a property. So export properties to CSV, and I'll just add the word original to the end here. And when I click on save, it's going to bring up this little message dialog box here telling us that if we want to reference the data properly in the CSV file, it creates a match property. So when we re-import our updated file, it will have that match property that we select. And then once it's imported, we need to hit apply so that the attributes are saved out properly. I'll show you how to do that. So now I will go over to Google Sheets. You just Google Sheets and you'll find this. Go to File, Import, and it's really simple. You just go to the Upload tab, and now I will go and find this new file, which downloaded, bring this in here, and there we go. Now I can see all of the data fields and attributes for these polygons. So I'm going to go all the way to the end here, and you can see here is the match property I mentioned. So I'm going to create a new column right here, and I'm going to call it Forces. And now I'm just going to go through the states here and manually type in whatever force or whatever army group these states belong to. So first I want to freeze this row, and I'm going to freeze this row, and then I'm actually going to, just to make things a little bit faster so I don't have to manually type in everything, I'm going to go search for region. So right here we have a column for region. I'm just going to sort this A to Z so that all of these geographic regions will kind of be grouped together. So, maybe it'll speed up the process just a little bit. And now it's a matter of using my reference image here, the Instagram post, to figure out which state is in which particular area. So if we go down to Florida first, I can just type in Florida Alliance. And then once I have that typed in, I can just grab this and start to move it around. And unfortunately, for a lot of these, it doesn't put, Florida and Georgia are in the Florida Alliance, but Delaware is not. So now I can just copy this, paste it. Okay, I'm going to speed this up. Got it all filled out. Now I'm going to go to File. Well, first I'm going to change the name here. We're going to call it With Forces. And then I'll go to File, Download as CSV. Now I come back to After Effects and I can select Import Properties from CSV. As long as we have this same feature collection selected, just go to the Downloads folder, grab this, and I'm going to click on Use Match Property. And now I will click Apply to make sure it saves this. Now if I click on an individual map feature and open up the feature properties, I can now see my bottom attribute right here, which is the Florida Alliance under Forces. Brilliant. Now what I want to do is create a map feature for each group. So I want to have one individual polygon that I'm going to be able to work with for New People's Army, Loyalist States, Western Forces, and Florida Alliance. So a great way to do this is to grab the feature collection, go to feature properties, and then we're going to name the features by, and then scroll all the way down to forces. This way we can easily see what's what here. Okay, so now I've got these all named by their forces. I can now just do a keyword search by Florida Alliance. And now I'm going to grab all of the polygons. I have a preview of them right here, and I can select merge features. By the way, you'll notice we haven't even created a map comp yet. We're doing all of this work inside of the GeoLayers panel to create these custom polygons. Okay, that's looking good. It created this new polygon right up here. You can see it just gives us all of these names, and I can go to feature properties and rename it. I'll call it Florida Alliance Final. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat this process for the other groups. Okay, I've created the first big step, and probably the biggest step, of creating these map features that I'm going to use. Now I want to get my Mapcomps in my After Effects project set up. So I'm going to click on this button right here, Create Controller Mapcomp. The controller map comp is where I'm going to do all of my animations. So if I want to do any kind of map movements, I'm going to do them with the controller comp. That's where I'll do all my keyframing. Now what I'm going to do is create 4 individual map comps that I can use as imagery for each individual group. So for that, I'm going to go to the map comp settings here, and I'm going to do create new map comp. And first we'll do Florida Alliance. And under link view, set it to controller 1. Then go ahead and click next. Now for the imagery, I'm going to go with this natural earth here, and I'm going to click it again so I have a little bit of control here, and I'm just going to turn the contents of some of these off. If you don't have a MapTiler data plane, you might not have access to this particular feature. So if you don't, you can just grab the Bing aerial or one of the satellite views perfectly fine. You should still be able to do everything that I'm going to do here. So I'm just turning off all of these except for the background. Actually, maybe we can leave lakes on as well. I'll click apply. Now you can see we're way zoomed out. So I'm gonna go grab the controller map comp, and I'm gonna just double click on the United States of America shape map feature collection here. That's gonna zoom us right in. I'm gonna control click to just finalize a frame of this imagery. Now I'm going to jump back into my map comp, and I want to simply duplicate this map comp 3 times, one for each specific group. So to do that, there's a little duplicate button right here, and you want to duplicate in the second option right here. So duplicate, and we'll call it New People's Army. Now I'm just going to repeat this process for the remaining 3, and I'm going to speed through this real quick. Okay, now you can see that I have all of these comps in here, and this little line here shows you that they are all linked to our controller. So I can actually close this if I want, just to give me a nice view. And they are all finalized. So now what I want to do is use my map features to draw out shapes or polygons or shape layers that I will use as mats. And this is really easy to do. I'm going to jump back into my controller map comp. I'm going to go up to layer styles and just grab a solid white here. And I'm going to click on edit styles just to make sure everything is good. Since I'm going to be using this as a matte, I want the fill opacity to be 100, and I don't want any stroke, and I don't want the blend mode set to anything other than normal. Click apply, and I'm going to be using these as an alpha matte, so it really doesn't matter what color you use. And also, if you click on the layer styles button over here, you want to be sure that you specify these parameters as well. I'm going to go ahead and simplify geometry based on current zoom. So if you want to keep that unchecked, it's going to give you really nice borders, but it's just going to be a little bit more processor intensive. And I don't want to bother with that right now since I'm just doing this quickly. And I also want to set this to individual layers because I'll be able to select all of these at the same time. So with all of these parameters set up, I'm going to grab all of these and draw them out. Okay, I drew all of these out. Let me expand this to see a little bit more. We have these 4 new shapes. These are once again going to be our mats. I'm going to bring them to the top now. And now what I want to do is I essentially want to take each individual map comp and attach it to its corresponding mat. So for Loyalist States right here, I'm going to go over to Track Mat and grab this pick whip right here. If you can't see this, you can toggle switches and modes on and off right here. You can see it that way. So I'm going to grab this and then select the Loyalist States right here. And now if I solo this, you can see what I've just done. I've isolated this map comp to show only this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the rest. We have Western Forces, we have New People's Army, and we have the Florida Alliance right here. Okay, so now we've matted these all out. Now what I want to do is I want to add this green color. So for this, I'm going to open up Effects and Presets right here. Grab this. Let's bring it over here actually. And we're going to search for something called Tint. So I'm going to grab Tint and put it over the Loyalist States here. And as soon as you add it, it immediately desaturates it. And the way Tint works is it has map black to and map white to. So you can get a good little duotone look, which is what our reference image is. Now I can select like a green and I can start to, you know, make it as bright or dark as I want. So let's just go with something like this. And I'm going to copy, actually, let's go with the brightest green. So if we look at the reference image again, we have the Western Forces are the brightest. And then it looks like New People's Army and Florida Alliance are very close. And then the darkest are the Loyalist States. So this is looking like a pretty bright green here that we just had. So maybe we want something like that. Let's set it at like 90%. Okay. I'll leave the black as is. Now what I can do is copy this and I'm going to paste it on Western Forces as well. So now we have that same tint effect. But if I go back up to Loyalist States, what we want to do now is have varying tints or shades of brightness. So all I need to do is go back to this one, and for Loyalist States, we want it to be a little bit darker. All you really have to do is grab this slider or your B for brightness, and we can bring it down to like 70 or whatever you want. Actually, this is the darkest one, so we'll bring it down to maybe like 60. You know, I can always tweak these. Okay, that's looking good. Now copy it again, go over to New People's Army, paste it on there. Same deal, just change the brightness. Okay, we got something here. It's getting a little close. You can see the projection is a little bit different. Here we're working with a web Mercator, and this projection is actually quite beautiful. You know, I've always been like a hardcore Mercator supporter and fan, but this looks pretty sweet. All right, this is probably a good moment to save out these map features. So I'm just gonna grab all of these elements here and add a new feature collection, and I'll call it A24 Civil War Boundaries. I'm gonna export this and just keep it on my local drive and also add it to my favorite features. Now I could create some label templates, but I'm just gonna add some text here. So I'm gonna grab the text tool and I'm just gonna quickly type out the names of these and then attach them to the map. So let me show you how this works. I just click right here and just do Loyalist States. Now, since we created this new data field for forces, it would be very easy to like add label templates via the label template feature. However, these are just 4 labels, so it's kind of easier just to quickly create them. A lot of Loyalist States here. Let's be clear, this is obvious that a non-American created this. I think it was a British director. I don't know who wrote this, but Texas and California together? Now that I've got all the text in place, I'm gonna grab all of them and pick whip them and attach them to our controller anchor right here. And if I want them to lay flat with the map, if I'm doing like pitch and bearing moves, I can just set them to 3D and then they will turn with those if that's what we want. All right, this tutorial is getting a little lengthy, so I'm gonna try to wrap it up here. For the next step, I'm gonna add this little flickering opacity transition in that you see in the original here. And this is quite simple. Just go to Window and select Effects and Presets. And I actually have created one here. If you type in Flickering Opacity, these are some presets that I actually created for Adobe a couple of years ago. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I made a video about them. Actually, I made 10 different presets that are in After Effects by default now. And my buddy Jake Bartlett made a few as well. So I'm going to link to that tutorial. You can find it over here. I'll put a card and I'll link to it in the video description. It's pretty cool. I show you all the ones I created. So this is the one we want, Flickering Opacity at Layer N. And all I need to do is grab all of the actual Mapcomps here and then double click, and that's going to add them. And I could theoretically just leave them as default. So if I play this back, one thing that's really cool about this particular effect is you can change the final opacity. So you can specify the duration. So it's going to be 1 second animating on. And then if you want the final opacity to be something a little bit different, you can just set it right here. Super cool. Right now I'm going to add some noise and a vignette just by adding a new adjustment layer here. Go back to Effects and Presets and type in Noisy Vignette. This is another preset that I contributed. And now I will just click on the center. Let's say we want the center of the vignette to be down here, and then we can crank up the amount, just give it a little bit of fall off over to here, whatever. Now for the last step, I'm just going to animate this text here. So if you go to the Effects and Presets panel and go to Animation Presets, go under the text folder, Animate In, and then you'll find Random Fade In. I think this is close to what they used. So I'll bring my playhead to maybe half a second in here. I'll grab all of the text elements here and just double click, and that'll add it to all the text. And if I solo these, let's see what they look like. Okay, actually I have one more step I'd like to do, and that's to add that little texture here. Now I'm just going to go to Layer, New Solid, and we'll add a white solid that's the size of the comp. And then I'll go ahead and add an effect called CC Ball Action. And I'm going to set the grid spacing to 3, the ball size to 25. And if you look here, you can see we're starting to get this grid. I'm going to rename this Grid Texture. This is a crazy effect. You can go nuts with it. And I'm going to put it below my text elements of my labels and my Noisy Vignette. And then I'm actually, you can see what we're getting this little grid here. You can really tweak this to your heart's content. I don't have a whole lot of time here, so I'm just gonna kind of go with what I've got here. And I'm gonna switch the blend mode to, I think it's Silhouette Alpha. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I've got a nice little texture, better than nothing. And that, you know what? I think it's time to look at our final product here and see what we've got. Okay, super cool. I think I got a really good looking animation here for the amount of time that I put into it. Again, the project files are available over on my Patreon page, and if you want to check out the GeoLayers 3 Masterclass, that is linked in the video description. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.